Hey everyone, welcome to SQLite Tutorials. In this part we are going to see how to use Entity Framework with SQLite. Okay, having said that, let's go ahead and create a new project. It's going to be in the same solution, but it's going to be a new project. I'm going to call this SQLite EF console app 2 maybe. Okay, because we used one for the first one. And let's create this project. Okay, and this was our first project, and it's right here, and this is our second project. So let's make this our startup project. Okay, so we got nothing here, and first thing we need to do, or I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in the Nuget package for SQLite. So add Nuget packages, and we are going to browse for system data SQLite. Okay, this top one, I'm going to select that. That brings the rest with it. I'm going to install. Hit accept to the pop-ups. Give it a minute or so. Okay, I think it's done. As you can see, it added all this stuff to the project. Okay, I'm going to close this out. Okay, let's check our projects, check our references, and all the good stuff is listed here. Okay, the next thing I want to do, I want to actually copy the database we worked with our first project. I'm going to open the folder. Go to bin folder, debug folder, and I'm going to copy this database. We're going to work with the same database. So I'm going to go into my new project, bin folder and debug folder, and paste in here. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and build this project. So that I think it's once built, that's the most some of the project files will populate here, and there you go. Now our project is built. Okay. All right. Let's see. We got our database. So we're going to start with adding a couple of new classes. So I'm going to click add, select class, all right, this first one I'm going to call the SQLite Config. It's going to be the configuration class. Okay, I'm going to make this public, and this is going to inherit from DB configuration. Okay, I think we're going to need a namespace, control dot. All right, using system data entity. We're going to bring that in, and then I'm going to copy the content of the file. I'm not going to get into too much details here. This is the configuration. So I'm basically just going to copy and paste this constructor that I have here. I'm going to post the code in my blog, so I'll drop the link in the description in case you want to copy and paste it. That's fine. Okay, so we got some errors here. Obviously we need to resolve these errors, so control that, the next one, and control that here. Let's bring in the namespace and resolve the errors. Okay, no issues found, and get rid of this unnecessary namespaces. Let's keep it clean. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. And then next we're going to create another class for DB context, data context. Add class. Let's call this data context. And this is going to be public, so let's go ahead and make this public. And we are going to need to inherit from DB context. Let's control dot to bring in the namespace, system data entity. Okay, for this guy we're going to do something similar and paste some code in here. So I'm gonna grab this constructor and the overridden method here and paste in. Let's actually get the property too. Paste right in here. Okay, we'll have a few errors and we are going to resolve the namespaces. So we have to bring in system data SQLite. And for this guy here, we're going to bring in system data entity model configuration conventions. Okay, we have one left. This because we don't have this class yet, the person class. Let's see, maybe you can get an option. Okay, generate type person. Let's go ahead and do that. In a new file, sure. Okay, let's see if our class was created. There it is. Okay, it's public. All right, so let me open the database so we can check our properties. I think it's ID name, but debug folder, and this is my database. I'm gonna drop in as soon as my Firefox opens up. It's a little on the slow side. Alright, so let's drop our database in our Firefox browser with our tool, nice nifty tool. Okay, so we have the ID property and the name properties. Okay, so we need two properties in our class. Int ID and prop string name. Okay, our class is ready. I want to go back here, really touch on a couple of things. So first, data source here, and this is the database we're going to use. So I'm going to change this, my SQLite db.db. That's our database name. Okay, if it's not in the same folder, in the debug folder, then you want to supply the full path to this string over here for data source. Okay. The other thing, if you don't have this line of code right here, actually this is not, should be removed, not add. So basically what this line of code does is, if you don't have this line of code, it's our table name is person, right? And if you don't have this line of code, it's going to look for people table, and it's not going to find it because we have person table. So that's for this. When you first generate this method from scratch, it's not going to have that line of code. So in case you get an error that says, okay, people table, no such table, people table, then that's your problem. So normally you would do something like this: public override void on, well, I think I made a mistake here. Override void. I think this we have this method. Let me comment this out for a second. That's why it's not suggested in the suggestions. So there you have it. So normally you have only default line of code, but again, if you don't have this one here, this line of code, it's going to look for plural name for a table name. Okay, something to keep on back of your head if you run into a problem. Alright, so I think we are ready to go with our main methods. So let's save this. Okay, and let's go to our main class. So here, let's create a method first for get people. Okay, let's get some help from Visual Studio to create the method. Okay, and actually let's go ahead and throw in a console.readline. Okay, so here, first thing we are going to need to do, create a instance of our context, data context. So data context ctx equals new data context. Okay, and then we're going to say for each var person in ctx dot people. We're going to do console.writeLine, and we are going to print out person dot id space person dot name. Okay, that should be it. And then finally we can say ctx dot dispose. Okay, all right, let's run this and see what happens. Let's actually build and then run, because my computer is a little on the slow side today. I think it's probably downloading some updates in the background. That's when I notice it's running slow. Okay, let's run this. And there you have it. So we got our data displayed in our console window. Of course, anytime you're dealing with a external file or database, you want to try and catch blocks, just in case you run into an issue. So normally we would do to place this inside a try catch block. Let's try and then catch. We can do a console.writeLine for the error exception. We can display the exception in case of an error. We could say type print out the message, and then for finally we could have finally block, and then close the database with ctx dispose. Okay. Now we got an error here. It's not okay. So probably we should create the instance outside the try catch block. Okay. All right. So that's. Let's see what's next. Let's go ahead and let's add a person. Let's comment this method out, and then let's add a new method, add person. Okay. Let's get some Visual Studio help and create the method for us. All right. So let's first create a instance of a person. So person p equals new person, and we want this to be ID of 4. I think we have 3 here, so we need the 4th person, and we'll say ID equals 4, name equals Jill Jones. Okay. Now, likewise, we're going to create a, or we can say, using. Next, let's create an instance of our data context. So this time, let's use a using statement. Using statement. I'm using this interchangeably, so you can get familiar with both usages. So instead of just going plain creating the data context in a separate line, I'm using inside a using statement. So inside our params, say var ctx equals new data context, open close curly braces, and in here we are going to say ctx dot people dot add p, simple as that, and then save changes. So ctx dot save changes. That's it. A few lines of code and you're done. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to uncomment this one to this because this method is reading them. So let's uncomment that. You don't have to comment that out because that's not making any changes to the file, so we can kind of read in the files for us. So let's go ahead and run this. And there you have it. Now we have number 4 added to our list. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's continue with our next method. I'm going to comment the add method out and create another one. This is going to be delete person. Okay, and I'm going to let Visual Studio generate the method for us. And here we go. I'm gonna get rid of this line of code that we're not gonna use. Okay, so we are going to start with, again, creating an instance of the data context. So var ctx equals new data context. Next, we need to find the records or the row we want to delete. So var person equals ctx dot people dot find. We are going to use the find method, and we'll pass in the ID. The ID of the record we want to delete, which is number 4. The last one is number 4. Okay, and then we are going to say ctx dot people dot remove, and we'll pass in that person that we just found. Next, we are going to save it, save the changes, and then dispose, ctx dot dispose. Okay. Okay, if we did everything right, they should delete the person that we are looking for, we're searching, and then deleting, and then save changes, and closing the database. Okay, let's run this and see what happens. Alright, so number 4 is gone. We only have 3 now. Okay, just to verify this, we can open our well, I have to refresh this again. So let's see. Let me refresh this and drop the database back in there. And we have 3 records. Okay. Alright. Let's continue with our next method. And that's going to be update. Right, I'm commenting delete methods and create a new one. So update person. Okay, let's generate the method. Alright, so we have 3 records now. Let's say want to change John Doe to John Smith. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. So var ctx equals new data context. Okay. Ctx dot people dot find. So the ID we're looking for is number 3, right? Okay. First we are finding it, and then we are going to say name equals John Smith. Okay, and then we'll save the changes. Oops, parens. Oh, come on. All right. And then dispose it. Okay, let's try this out and run it. And there you have it. So we updated the last row to John Smith. Okay. The beauty of entity framework, we don't have hard-coded text SQL queries. It does the job in the background for us. It converts to SQL query and passes into the database. And but it's slightly slower than the other one, I think. It feels like, but it's, I guess, a trade-off. So this is easier than the other one, as far as it's just C# rather than SQL queries. But again, there is a little speed difference between the two. So whichever you prefer. I think that's it. So we did read, we added the row, we deleted the row, and we updated the row. So I think we are all good. Unless you guys have any questions, please drop in the comments section, and we'll take it from there. Okay. So until the next one, take it easy. Have a good one.